Welcome back to Cryptic. Today we're doing this part 2 of the Iceberg I made. So yeah, this is part 2, we're getting deeper in here. We've got more cases that are pretty terrifying, honestly, if you ask me. And some longer entries, some very short entries. But it is what it is. Let's get right into it with skinwalkers. So everybody's heard of skinwalkers, probably. They are said to be malevolent supernatural beings rooted in Navajo tradition and folklore. And I don't want to say too much on this because, again, I don't know very much about it, but people say that skinwalkers could be involved in missing 411 cases. One big part of that is because a large number of these cases do occur in the American Southwest. So skinwalker legend is from the American Southwest. And remember we talked about, we'll bring this up a few other times, but the Dennis Martin case where witnesses saw a weird humanoid carrying the little boy off. And then also there's the an overwhelming sense of dread sometimes being recorded before somebody gets lost or something, you know? And that detail does align with some skinwalker lore that before you see it, you'll feel it sort of thing.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah. So that's just the skinwalker entry.
Are the skinwalkers themselves, aren't they things that can like shapeshift in a sense? Or am I thinking of something else here?
Yeah. So they're witches, apparently, or some sort of black magic practitioner who can shapeshift as like any animal, like a coyote or a bird or something.
Okay. That's a pretty sick skill to have.
It sure
Honestly,
is.
I kind of wish I could do that.
So next entry is Silent Forest, and this is referring to the occurrence of the forest going suddenly silent before people going missing. It's kind of a cliche in like movies for everything to get quiet before like a predator runs in or something pops out. And you know, I personally know people who said they've been walking through the woods and everything got silent all of a sudden, all creepily. This is something that kind of happens. And so there's like millions of stories out there of people walking through the forest and all of a sudden all the bugs and the birds just like stop chirping and it's just like, oh, like the fucking SpongeGar meme, right? You're like, what the hell's about to happen to me?
Yeah, just that would throw me off too. I would feel like it's just that cut right before something bad happens, right? It's like when you're watching a movie or something, there's a car scene where you're looking dead on at somebody, but then it cuts to like the side and you're looking at the side, you know somebody's going to come at them.
Yeah.
So it's like if everything just cuts out and it's all quiet, 100% I'm getting attacked by a bear or something.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just made up for Hollywood, but I feel like it is kind of a fact that if like a big predator's coming through, all the small things will like be quiet all of a sudden. So maybe that's part of it. I thought
maybe
that was
I'm
a thing.
Just reaching for conclusions here, but that would make sense as far as just kind of not wanting to be eaten. If you know there's something big around that can eat you, probably want to stay quiet. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. Okay, so our first large entry is the case of Donald Kemp. So this is a pretty fun one. I guess I shouldn't say fun, but you get what I mean. Donald Kemp was an American advertising executive from New York City who disappeared in mysterious circumstances in a remote part of Wyoming in 1982. So Don Kemp was working in advertising on New York City's Madison Avenue. He's kind of like a big shot guy, right? When a traffic accident left him with debilitating injuries that took him several years to recover from. So, like, recovering from these injuries, he decided to leave New York and begin life in a mountain cabin in the Jackson Hole Valley in Wyoming. So this is a big shot kind of guy who's like had injuries done to him and he wants to pretty much live off grid at this point, right? He wants to leave the hustle and bustle behind. And so he left New York in September of 1982 and drove to Wyoming. And on November 15th, the day before he disappeared, he visited a museum in Cheyenne, Wyoming, where he stayed for around 2 hours and did not speak to anyone. However, upon leaving the museum, he left behind his briefcase, which contained his diaries, address book, traveler's checks, and glasses. I'm just setting the groundwork for what's about to happen. On the morning of November 16th, 1982, Kemp's car was found abandoned with its engine still running on a ramp off I-80, 40 miles from the nearest town. The car was so full of his belongings because he was moving that there would have been no space for anyone except the driver. A single pair of footprints in the snow away from the car led investigators 6 miles through the wilderness to a barn, where they found a pile of sticks arranged to look like it was about to start a fire, right? And 3 of Kemp's socks. There were no footprints, however, leading away from the barn, but Kemp was nowhere to be found. Of course, you can't. Okay. Nearby, investigators also found a duffel bag containing laundry soap, clothes, and a teapot, which were all Kemp's. Due to the solitary set of footprints, the lack of space for anyone else in the car, and the featureless terrain which should have enabled searchers to easily spot a human being. Due to the solitary... It should have been easy to find him. You see his footprints. It's Wyoming, so it's not like super forested. It's tundra-ish, you know. 3 days after Kemp's disappearance, the search was called off due to a blizzard. If we remember from part 1, folks, that's part of the missing 411 lore, is that the weather changes suddenly. Several months after Kemp disappeared, right, they haven't found him, Judy Aiello, who was a close friend of his from New York, returned home from an extended vacation to find 6 messages on her answering machine, featuring a voice that she was certain was Kemp's, although the caller never stated his name. The caller sounded panicked and read out a number urging Aiello to call him back. She did so the next day. A man answered, and Aiello asked if Dawn was there. The man replied yes, then almost immediately said no. Aiello asked the man if he could ask Dawn to call her back. The man replied yeah, and hung up, but she never received a call back. So Aiello informed Kemp's mother, Mary, who in turn informed the authorities, and they traced the calls to a rented trailer in Casper, Wyoming, occupied by a man named Mark Dennis. Dennis denied making the calls and ever having met Kemp. He suggested that either someone else used his telephone without his knowledge, or the telephone company made a mistake about the number used to call Aiello. He agreed to a polygraph test. Authorities described him as cooperative and were satisfied that he was not involved in Kemp's disappearance. He passed the polygraph. He convinced the cops. Kemp's decomposed remains were later discovered in October of 1985 by hunters a few miles from where his car was found. The autopsy showed no signs of foul play, and the authorities are satisfied that he walked into the wilderness voluntarily and died either in the blizzard or the immediate aftermath. However, it remains a mystery as to how his body was not found during the initial search, as it was located in a clearly visible place that had already been searched. So we went through the last entry we did last week. Had the weird calls, and this one's got some weird calls. And his body should have been found where it was. It looked like he died of natural causes, but it's just a weird one. It's a weird one. The cops immediately cleared the guy who's apparently the call came from. So that's also interesting. But to be fair, I think in the 80s, maybe not by the 80s, but calling people used to actually be a physical fucking thing that you could fuck up. Not with typing in
the
numbers.
Switchboard operator and stuff like that. Yeah,
that sort of thing. So it's just a weird one.
I mean, I got a lot of questions though. Go ahead. I'm going to try to keep this somewhat chronological, and then I'm probably going to break that almost immediately, but it's fine. So you were saying that he got into an accident in New York. I don't know if I made this up in my head when I was listening, but did you say it was debilitating? Do we know the type of injuries he received?
That's a good question. I think it was just chronic pain, pretty much. I think he could still walk and stuff, but yeah.
As far as we know, he was still a fully functional person. He was just in pain, and he was like, fuck the city, I'm out.
Yeah, as far as I know, yeah.
Okay, so he had his vehicle with all of his stuff, pulled off onto an off-ramp, went through the snow 6 miles to a barn, and that's where, his footprints were tracked. And then he disappeared from there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Hear me out. Okay. How big of a barn?
That's a
Could
good
he have
question.
just
I
been
don't know.
sleeping in some hay and they just kind of like came in and then the dude was like, oh, fuck, I shouldn't have been in here. So he just kind of hid the whole time?
That's an interesting theory, maybe. Because I guess that's a good theory, because if there was no footprints leading away, logically he'd still be there. But you'd think they might look around, but...
Would make sense. I
That's a
wonder
good
if
theory,
maybe
though.
there was a basement or something, like a small cellar in the barn.
Mhm.
Maybe he hid in.
That is a good theory, man.
Seems a little odd. Also, with a polygraph test, it's more so known now. I mean, maybe less so back then, that those are not reliable at all. If the dude was just a sociopath, he wouldn't have a like an accelerated heart rate or anything like that. So he totally could have just murdered him and been like, "Oh no, it's fine. Doesn't feel any emotion. Doesn't trigger the polygraph test." I don't know. That dude seems a little sus to me. And then just dumped his remains in an open field is where the body was found.
Yeah.
What was the time period afterwards? It was 1985 was when his body was found, but
yeah, so it was over 2 years.
Over 2 years. And how did they identify? Just like dental remains or something like that?
Yeah, I think so. Probably. Yeah, and then they did declare that there was no foul play. So I don't know. Obviously, so like his neck wasn't broken or something, but he probably...
I mean, you could strangle someone to death, and that's not going to show a broken bone. 2 years is a long ass time for a body to, decompose.
Mm-hmm. Fun
That's
fact:
crazy.
if you strangle someone, they actually can tell from a small... A lot of the times they can tell because there's a small bone in your neck, and that'll break.
Interesting.
Yeah, just from strangling though. I think if you strangle somebody without your hands, you usually don't break that bone.
I was gonna say,
I don't think it's foolproof, but yeah.
Okay. I was like, I may have broken a lot of people's bones in their neck from jiu-jitsu, and also, I mean, mine might be broken. I don't know.
I don't think so. I think you die, man.
Well, I'm gonna hope not in that case. But yeah, that's weird.
Okay, next entry is another case. Jim McGrogan. So this one, it's always creepier to me when they happen recently, like within our lifetimes. That's always creepier to me. I don't know why.
Sure. Better technology, right? Better ways to find out the cases and stuff like that.
And that actually comes up in this one. This one's pretty spooky. So Jim McGrogan was a 39-year-old ER doctor from Indiana who vanished under strange circumstances during a 2014 ski trip in Colorado. Jim was known for his love of the outdoors, and he often went on backpacking and skiing trips with his friends and participated in other outdoor activities like mountain climbing and all that. He was kind of an adventurous guy. On March 14th, 2014, he left with his friends for a new sort of adventure, a backcountry skiing trip. And he was with 3 close friends, and they were in Holy Cross Wilderness in Colorado. So a lot of mountains, a lot of snow. He was an experienced skier, and as an ER doctor, he was well aware of the possible dangers of a trek like this and always kept a fully stocked first aid kit in his bag. So this guy, he was even prepared for like having to patch up one of his friends, you know?
Sure.
This particular trip saw James and his 3 friends aim to ski to Iceberg Hut, which was only accessible by completing the harsh 8.5-mile snow-covered trail. So it's not an easy sort of trail these guys are going on. Before setting off, the group made sure they had everything they needed, which included GPS, phones, water, clothing, a lot of food, and their gear such as skis and waterproof outerwear. This is a more expensive sort of adventure to go on. Like, you have to know what the fuck you're doing, right?
Sure.
The trek began normally, each person matching the other's pace. By roughly 10 a.m., around 5 miles from Iceman Hut, so they're almost 4 miles into this, the group stopped and took a break, right? By some accounts, James told his friends he'd keep hiking and meet them at the hut. Since the group only stopped for a few minutes, they assumed they'd catch up with him before he got to the destination. However, a member of the group later said they weren't sure how James ended up breaking away from the group, stating he simply disappeared out of view. So in some accounts, couple of his friends said he would meet them later. He's going to go ahead. Another guy said he didn't hear that. He just didn't know where he went all of a sudden.
I'm sorry. How many people are with this person?
I believe 3 others. Yes, 3 others.
Okay. So it's a 4-man group, including it sounds like the one dude who disappeared.
Right.
Okay.
A few hours later, the trio finally made it to the hut. They were surprised to see that James wasn't there, as he said he would be because he was supposed to be ahead of them. Believing he'd get there soon, however, though perplexed as to why he wasn't already, the group decided to settle in and start getting ready to camp and all that. The day passed quickly, and it became apparent that James wasn't going to arrive at the hut, so they called the authorities, and the search of the area ensued, but it led nowhere. So there were helicopters on this search and a bunch of people, although this is an area that's hard to search, right? It's mountain hiking.
Mm-hmm.
Then on April 3rd, 2014, so this is a few weeks later, 2 hikers stumbled upon James's body in a remote area near Booth Falls. He was found around 4.5 miles from the hut that he was supposed to be going to at the bottom of a frozen waterfall. And this sort of didn't make sense to the friends he'd been on the hike with, because this was not on the path to the hut, nor was it a shortcut or any logical way to get to the hut. Dude, side note, my fucking apple tree is dropping giant apples on my roof, and it's making me jump every time.
I thought that was your chair or something settling.
You heard that? Funny. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Okay. So it wasn't a shortcut. It was pretty much the opposite fucking direction of where he was supposed to be going. And so he kind of veered off track entirely. The area in which he was found was full of sharp, snow-covered rocks, steep climbs, and abrupt cliffs. It would have taken him, in other words, a lot of effort to get there and in the wrong direction. So he wasn't even taking like an easier path. This was a harder path. So after the body was found, the police were called and the location was cordoned off as investigations started. More bizarre facts came to light, such as James' noticeably absent boots.
You just want to keep the kicks clean, dude.
His boots have since never been recovered. We've never found this guy's boots. His helmet was also missing, and his coat and gloves had been removed. We talked about paradoxical undressing in the first half of this Iceberg. But the fact that his boots were never found is a little weird. His cell phone was found near his body, though no attempt to contact authorities had been made on his end. He had everything a hiker would need to stay safe and on track, yet inexplicably he had somehow ended up miles from his destination with parts of his gear removed. So remember, this guy had a cell phone and a GPS. This is 2014. He had a satellite GPS. He should have known where the fuck he was.
Mm-hmm.
4 days after he was found, the coroner concluded that James' death was entirely accidental. He suffered head and chest trauma as well as a broken femur. These injuries pointed to a fatal accidental fall. Still, with no foul play ruled out, the question remains, why was he in such a dangerous location in the first place? Why had he removed his clothes? And why didn't he use his GPS to guide him to a better path? So again, this guy he was a doctor. He seemed to be pretty cautious because he brought medical supplies. And then he had the confidence to go ahead of his group and then went in the entirely wrong direction through worse terrain to eventually fall and die while having a GPS. This one, it's just, yeah, he maybe just went off course and fell and died, but the details just don't make much sense. Why would he ever do that? Because he's got a real, the GPS you could buy today. I have one. It shows you exactly where you're at. So,
do we have more information on this, or is that the rest of it?
No, you should be able to find more information. I might have more if you have a question particularly, but
so
this is a pretty well documented case. In other words,
I would want to start off by asking the area that they were hiking through. Understandably, it was difficult and all that, yes, but is that a spot that is relatively well known for that type of community, or just in general for hiking through that area?
Yeah, it's pretty well known. I believe they rented their skis from a shop, like, at the bottom of the mountain. So, like, people do this.
So, my theory is he was murdered.
Oh, yeah?
And my thought behind that is, even recently, which maybe this is just anecdotal evidence on my part, I guess you can't even call it evidence. There was a couple videos that I saw of some dude who was putting up steel wire on a biking path, like perfectly at neck height for bikers to come by, and it seems like probably fucking kill themselves. But along with that, there was like an axe in the dude's backpack because he left it kind of stashed on the side of the road. In the video, the biker saw that. He was able to duck in time, saw the stash, and was like, what the hell? But the point that I'm getting to is there are some people who are just insane and want to hurt people for no reason. So especially if this is a well-known area where, hey, there aren't any cameras or anything like that. A guy that's just going by himself, who does have a GPS, who has all the means to be able to get back on course. If you have a gun pointed at you or a knife or whatever, you kind of have to follow this guy. And then he steals his boots, any other shit that he can get off him, fucking pushes him off a cliff. It doesn't look like foul play. He was never shot. He was never stabbed. But he fell off a cliff or a place that he shouldn't be at. And then, hey, perfect crime. So
yeah,
that's my thought on it.
Other than having to, like, escort someone through really rough hiking and climbing for a long time, I think that might be the only hole in that theory, but that could work. It could have been done. So definitely. Yeah, because I don't have any other theories.
I mean, why else would you go like that far off course? It's either that or the dude wanted to just try and go off grid, and he just planned on disappearing, but then kind of fucked up the theory. But then it's like, well, what about like his boots and all that other shit that just kind of went missing?
Yeah.
So that is strange.
Yeah. Next entry is another case, and it is the Trevor Basil case. So Trevor Basil, he was 43. He left his home in Panaca, Nevada on Friday, August 14th, 2020, another fucking recent one, to do rock hunting in the hills just south of town. Trevor, being an art teacher, had a passion for collecting rocks and had made this trip many times before, sometimes staying out late into the night. When Trevor failed to return that night, his family mounted a search, eventually finding his vehicle. The next day, over 100 volunteers met outside the Panaca Market and started scouring the area near Miller Wash. Coordinated by the sheriff's office, they quickly found a scent trace using hunting dogs and tracked it 7 miles throughout the surrounding area, eventually coming upon a bucket full of rocks that he had apparently collected, along with a towel. Despite this breakthrough, the first day ended without finding him, despite air and ground searches. There was helicopters too, and this is pretty much the desert, so... The next day, search and rescue teams started a grid search around the area surrounding the bucket. More air and ground support came in to help, and another large volunteer force combed the area for clues. Drone operators helped direct the volunteers and horses, ATVs, side-by-sides, and dirt bikes. By the end of that second day, the search dogs couldn't hold on to Basil's scent, and it was determined that the area had been searched for as much as possible. And there has been no sign of Trevor, and sadly, he remains missing to this day. So this guy went to go collect rocks in the desert and disappeared completely.
Yeah, that's not a lot of additional information there. That's strange. How do we know how wide of an area that got searched?
Pretty damn wide. I don't know. There was also a heat wave. So, that kind of, theoretically, I think, made the dogs less able to track the scent because they were just too damn hot. I mean, it is the desert.
Right.
So that's all I know. It was pretty wide, but it was terminated early because it was super damn hot, kind of dangerous to be out there. But it's also the desert, so if he died out there somewhere, his body will turn up eventually, right?
And this was only in 2020?
Yeah, 2020.
Damn.
Yeah. Okay, we are one layer deeper now. We're losing sunlight in this area of the iceberg. First entry is the Oz factor. So the Oz factor is a term coined by British UFO researcher Jenny Randalls to describe a strange phenomenon often reported in close encounters with the unexplained, including UFO sightings, paranormal events, and even some missing 411 disappearances. It refers to a sudden, eerie shift in the environment where the witness feels detached from reality as if entering a surreal, silent, or altered state, such as unnatural silence, time seems to slow down, sensory isolation, meaning the feeling that you entered a bubble or altered reality, and static or electrical sensations. So it's just something some people have reported that when they witness a paranormal event, it feels like they've tripped and gone into Oz sort of thing. Things feel off.
That also constitute the silent forest?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, similar to an extent?
Similar to an extent, I think. Probably just more exaggerated.
Interesting. Okay, so the Oz factor is going to play into maybe some of our other stories, or this is just something of note?
Kind of, yeah. Definitely the last story, if you could even call the last story Oz. It's more fucking crazy than that, but yeah.
Okay.
I think you're going to get a real kick out of this next one. It kind of feels wrong to talk about this one, but it's very strange, and you've probably heard of it before, but not the details. So this next entry is about Kenny Veach. So on November, I'll just get into it. On November 10th, 2014, outdoorsman, YouTuber, and experienced hiker Kenny Veach disappeared near Nellis Air Force Base, Nevada, after venturing into the desert to find a cave that he stated was abnormally formed to shape the letter M. Have you heard of this before? The M-shaped cave?
I am not. Okay.
Veach, who resided in Las Vegas, was known for his YouTube channel where he shared videos of his adventures in the desert and mountains of Nevada under the name Snakebit McGee. He frequently embarked on solo hikes in remote areas, often seeking out unusual or mysterious locations. So this guy, he kind of, before he even went missing, he was kind of skirting the line of unexplained things, right?
Okay.
On various online forums, Veach claimed to have hiked countless different mountains and caves in the Mojave and Great Basin deserts. In 2014, Veach, on a YouTube video about the son of an Area 51 technician speaking about some things his father had told him about his job while drunk, Veach posted a since-deleted comment describing a strange experience he had while hiking in a sheep range near Area 51. According to Veach, he discovered a cave shaped like the letter M that made his body vibrate. That's kind of the Oz factor. Getting more intense the closer he got to it. This made him feel scared, making him go back to his car. This comment quickly gained attention from other users, with many encouraging him to return to the site and explore further, getting this shit on YouTube, while others expressed skepticism. And motivated by the doubt of people on that comment, Kenny made a second trip to find the cave in October 2014. During this trip, Veach reported the sighting of a black ram, like a big-ass sheep thing, that watched him from atop a ridge during the entire trip. So he's reporting on this trip he's taking, and he's saying a big black ram is following him.
Ultimately, I 100% thought you were talking about a truck there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I said sheep, yeah. Ultimately, he failed to locate the cave. However, he recorded the journey and published it on his YouTube channel under the name M Cave Hike on October 18th. And I'm sure you can actually find this video. Despite increasing concerns and warnings from others, Veach announced plans for a third trip to find the M Cave after his unsuccessful second trip, this time armed with a gun. On November 10th, 2014, Veach is speculated to have set out on his third hike, bringing with him his truck, a cell phone, and other supplies necessary for his journey. Veach informed his girlfriend of his plans, but he did not give specific details about the location, and this would be the last time anyone saw or heard from him. A search operation was launched, including volunteers and officials from the Nevada Search and Rescue Team. Despite an extensive search of the area, no sign of Veach was found, except for his cell phone, which was discovered on November 22nd near an abandoned mine shaft in the Sheep Range. The phone's location suggested that Veach had made it to the general area he intended to explore, but his ultimate fate remains unknown. In January 2021, a group of friends from Nevada launched a website dedicated to finding Veach and documenting their search efforts. By December 9th of that year, the website had been converted into an ARG that claimed Veach had never existed. This guy did exist and he is missing. And for some reason, the friends that set up this website, it got converted into an ARG. By March 2022, the website had been taken down and is no longer accessible. On November 28th, 2021, CNN actually released a 2-hour documentary about the disappearance of Veach. It is a real disappearance. This guy existed, he's missing. To date, he's still not found. The ARG thing gets me. It gives me chills, because I'm like, what the fuck is that about? But yeah, that's the story of Kenny Veach. It's pretty famous on YouTube now. I didn't know his name, but I knew of the M-shaped cave.
That's
so weird, dude, right? It's weird.
The ARG has me thinking one of two things. Either there's enough traction that the friends decided that they were going to monetize this in some way, and I feel like the ARG would play into that some way, somehow. The other thought is, well, naturally put on my tinfoil hat, like a conspiracy or cover-up type thing. He was finding shit that he wasn't supposed to, and he just was redacted IRL. And then they were like, oh yeah, well, let's just turn this whole thing into a game because people's attention spans are next to nothing, and then people are going to forget all about this anyway, so it's fine.
Because let's say, imagine me and you have a friend who goes missing. We set up a website for him, just me and you, and we both wake up in the morning and we check the website, and all of a sudden it's converted into an ARG. Like, I'm going to think you did that. You're going to think I did that. Are we going to come to the agreement that the government did that? Probably not, dude. We're going to be like, why the fuck would you do that to our friend?
Yeah, so, right.
And especially if there's more than just 2 people, there's like 4 or 5. Somebody fucking did that, and very really creepy, weird. Honestly. A lot of people think he just went out there and killed himself. He did bring a gun, and I think he did have mental health. I think his girlfriend said he was struggling with mental health stuff. So yeah, that definitely is a big possibility. But
drops the phone near the mine shaft and goes in there, and
maybe, but you think they would have searched the mine shaft, right? They found his phone next to it.
It would make sense, but there's no mention of it. So.
If it was in any way accessible, yeah. And then this is just this is fucked. I don't know.
Yeah, that's really weird. I probably shouldn't be saying this, but I really wish that he would have been live streaming, dude.
I don't know if we have good enough service out there. Maybe.
You should be able to hotspot or something. So, okay, hear me out. Look, at any point going forward, if somebody does something where they know there's a good chance they're going to die or go and check out something that they just should not be doing, do everyone a favor. This is if you are fully committed, because, well, you probably have more to live for. You probably shouldn't be doing this, but if you already made up your mind, 1, live stream the whole thing, but 2, get a 360 degree camera, like 4K if possible. because I don't want any more of the bullshit like, oh, I'm recording on my phone. Oh no, I dropped my phone and then it falls. No, I want a 360 camera so we can see the motherfucker in black who's coming up behind you to take you out. Right? So that's just my request. Be courteous. Come on.
If he was telling the truth about the black ram following him, that's also fucking like paranormal sounding, dude.
It does sound paranormal, but from what you were saying, it sounds like it would be in the video, no?
That's a good point. I don't actually know. I don't think it is. Maybe it is. Maybe he took video of it, but it wasn't like obvious it was following him forever. I don't know.
Gotcha, because you brought that up on the part 2 trip that he went to go record, right? Part 2 out of 3. So.
Yeah. Okay, well, that was Kenny Veach. Rest in peace to a fellow YouTuber.
Rest in peace.
Okay. Next entry is another case. This one of Tom Messick. This one, I don't know if I was able to convey how strange this one is. Well, I guess we'll see. But this one's very strange to me. On November 15th, 2015. Apparently all of mine are recent today.
Seems like it.
Thomas Messick Sr., aged 82, an ex-paratrooper, walked into the woods south of Brant Lake in New State. I believe this was New York, or somewhere in the southeast, or northeast, to hunt for deer and was never seen again. No sign of him or his belongings ever turned up, including a rifle and walkie-talkie, despite an extensive search of the area. Unusually, the FBI was also involved in the investigation, so let's get into it. After 55 years of hunting with longtime friends, also other senior men, at the Messick's hunting camp. So this guy owned a plot of land for hunting, right? But this time they decided to try a new area for the first time, so not their normal hunting grounds. So it's a pretty obvious hunting technique where Tom was supposed to stay in one spot as group members walked through the woods towards him to push deer towards him. If there are any deer in like thick foliage, they'll hear the guys and run towards Tom.
Sure.
But when they arrived at where he was supposed to be, he was gone, without a trace of him or his belongings, and no sign of any deer were found that day, by the way. He wore duck boots, camouflage pants and coat, gloves, and a red and black check hat that he'd worn for many years. Like I said, he carried a rifle and walkie-talkie. He was last seen at 10 a.m., and when Messick did not show up at the agreed-upon time, his friends called the forest rangers, and they searched from 4:30 p.m. It got dark around 7 p.m., and at that point half the group stayed, fired their rifles, and honked the car horns to attract Tom to the area. That's also a obvious hunting technique. If you get lost, you shoot your gun, right? You can hear a gun for fucking miles.
Yeah.
The remaining men left the scene and reported him missing to family and the larger authorities. The day after Tom had disappeared on November 16th, the search started with 13 trained search and rescue professionals from the Park Service with a shit ton of volunteers. By all accounts, it was well organized from the start. A huge search over several weeks involving more than 300 professionals and volunteers on some days, assisted by dogs, divers, and several helicopters, found no clues, including no sign of his rifle or walkie-talkie. More than 4 square miles were searched, with a large area being searched by air with the aid of a helicopter from the state police. Surprisingly, the FBI arrived on the 4th day, November 19th. This is unusual, as the FBI never usually gets involved in these types of missing persons cases unless they fall under federal jurisdiction, like they happened on federal land, or it's believed that a kidnapping was involved. I don't know if they theorized a kidnapping was involved, but it was not on federal land. Tom's wife, Beverly, said, quote, "The FBI told me something isn't right with this case, but they don't know what. They won't share any theories if they have them. The FBI said until they make a discovery, they're never going to know." Subsequently, investigators said there have been no indications of foul play. So the FBI said there's no foul play. David Winchell, a spokesman for the DEC, said rangers continued to search the area on a limited continuous basis since a wide-scale ground search ended in January 2016. That means rangers to at least since a few years ago, still check the area periodically for evidence for his gun or his walkie. David Paulides actually interviewed one of his hunting buddies, and this is what his hunting buddy said. This is the conversation they had. The conversation is actually on camera in one of Paulides' documentaries. This is the guy talking. "I heard a strange noise in the woods, but I don't know what it was. Just a different noise from what I usually hear, you know?" David says, "Like what?" "It'd be hard to explain because it was different. Something different than I've ever heard before in the woods. I just can't say what it was, you know?" "How long in duration was it? Was it 2 or 3 seconds?" "No, it's just whatever it is, you know." "How far away was it?" "I'd say it was probably 150 yards, something like that." "Was it toward Tom or away from Tom?" "This was up towards the hill, the top of the hill," which is where Tom was. "Did you tell the cops this?" "Yeah, I told them that, but they just passed it off, you know." And so that's the conversation he had with his friend, and that was Tom Messick. So he was hunting with a bunch of elderly guys, his buddies for life, but he was also hunting with his buddies for life's kids. So, you know, like 40-year-olds, shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, the reason Tom Messick was left behind is because he's very old. He's not going to be the guy trying to chase deer through the woods.
Sure.
And so that's why you keep him back. And so, like, this guy couldn't have walked very far if he had tried, because he's very elderly. You know what I mean? He was just sat in a spot, essentially told to wait in that spot until they get back. But he's gone.
And just disappeared.
Just disappeared. Not even his gun or his walkie-talkie were ever found. Which obviously kind of means that, like, a bear didn't kill him. Because you can't... A bear's not going to eat a gun.
Yeah. And I feel like, at the very least, if you're deer hunting, you have a bullet in the chamber. So if you get jumped, even if you don't shoot the bear, you're probably going to pull the trigger, right?
Yeah, very good point.
You would hear something. That's, the fact that the FBI came for that case, that's strange. I
assume they were like, you can't find this guy. He's like 80 years old and he had to have been kidnapped. That's probably what they assumed, maybe. And so they went to check it out and kind of realized he probably wasn't kidnapped. So then they just didn't know what the fuck happened.
Who would elderly nap, though? Like,
right?
For what gain?
Who knows?
Yeah, I don't understand. It makes me just want to think something supernatural because, well, can't really think of many other logical explanations, right?
Yeah, well, the other logical explanation, I guess, one that is forwarded online by skeptics and shit of anything strange happening, is that, like, the hunters were in on it. And they just decided...
the disappearance?
Yeah, and they just decided to kill him or something. Or he was never there in the first place. That he was murdered beforehand, and then the guy said he was there and disappeared, but he was never there.
That's a lot of people, it sounds like, to try to get in on that. Like, how many enemies do you have to make that a group of, I'm just going to conservatively say, like, 4 to 8 people can all keep a secret and just, murder this guy silently and then be like, okay, we need to all have our stories dialed in.
Yeah, and, like, his lifelong friends, too.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah. See, yeah, that one gets me. And I remember I watched a long time ago the Missing 411 documentary that went into this case, and it is very strange, just because of how old this guy was. He wasn't going anywhere, right?
I would be interested to try to hook that dude up that was in the interview with like an audio engineer to see if they might be able to recreate that noise that he heard. Granted, how long ago was this case?
I think it was 2014.
2014. Okay, 11 years ago. 2015. Okay, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd be able to accurately recreate that noise truthfully, but still, it would be interesting to at least have some recreation of it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
That seems like it might be a relevant detail, maybe. Who knows?
Okay. Next case and next entry. This is a double header. Connie Johnson and Terrence Woods. So the disappearances of Connie Johnson and Terrence Woods in Idaho County in October 2018 remain two of the most perplexing and tragic unsolved cases in recent memory. Both individuals vanished under mysterious circumstances in the rugged wilderness of Idaho. So, first off, the disappearance of Connie Johnson. Connie Johnson, a 76-year-old experienced outdoors woman and former U.S. Forest Service wilderness ranger, vanished on October 3rd, 2018 while working as a camp cook for Ritchie Outfitters near Big Fog Mountain in the remote Selway Bitterroot Wilderness. She was last seen by hunters who left camp on October 2nd. The next day, they attempted radio contact but could only hear garbled transmissions. When they returned on October 5th, Connie and her dog Ace were gone without a trace. Connie was highly skilled in wilderness survival, having spent decades navigating the backcountry. Her disappearance baffled authorities and loved ones as there were no signs of struggle, tracks, or evidence of an accident. A massive search involving ground teams, tracking dogs, and aerial surveillance with FLIR heat technology turned up nothing. 3 weeks later, her dog Ace reappeared at the Moose Creek Ranger Camp, 15 miles from the camp, but Connie was not there, never found. Her daughter speculated that Connie may have suffered an accident or sudden illness, but the lack of any physical evidence combined with the dog's unexplained return deepened the mystery. Some have wondered if wildlife, a fall, or even foul play could explain her disappearance, but no definitive answers have emerged. So that was Connie Johnson, and let me just get straight into Terrence Woods so you can see why I put them together. Just hours before Connie was reported missing, it was literally the same day in the same area, just hours before she was reported missing, 27-year-old Terrence Woods, a TV production assistant from Maryland, vanished under bizarre circumstances while filming for the Discovery show Gold Rush, Dave Turin's Lost Mine, near Penman Mine in Idaho. On October 5th, 2018, witnesses reported that Woods abruptly dropped his radio, sprinted down a steep cliff, and disappeared into the forest. I'm getting chills again. These are fucking crazy.
What?
This is a whole TV production, and this guy working on it dropped everything and sprinted. Despite a 7-day search involving helicopters, dogs, and ground teams, no trace of him was found. Wood's family, however, questioned the official narrative, particularly his father's disbelief that his son could have run down such treacherous terrain without leaving any evidence. They suspected foul play, alleging that Woods may have witnessed or heard something that compelled him to flee. The production company, Raw TV, denied mistreatment and cooperated with authorities, but the family felt their concerns were dismissed. Adding to the mystery, the 911 call log noted that Woods had been, quote, having a really hard time emotionally before his disappearance, though friends and family insisted he had no history of mental health issues. Sheriff Doug Giddings acknowledged that Woods seemed like a, quote, outsider among the crew, but found no evidence of wrongdoing. So both cases share eerie similarities. They're both fucking same day in Idaho County. No physical evidence were ever found of these guys. There's the unexplained behavior of Connie's last garbled radio transmission, making no sense, and Terrence's sudden sprint into the woods.
That's
so, yeah.
Wild.
This one is quite the head scratcher. I don't think, because if we're thinking paranormal on this, Connie could have done the same thing Terrence did. He just all of a sudden sprinted towards something because nobody was there to see her go. And everybody saw Terrence just drop everything and sprint into the woods. How crazy. And then he sprinted so fast and so far that helicopters couldn't see him. How is that possible? What the fuck happened to this guy?
Were they wearing red?
That's a good question. I don't know. Wait, why? Because wait, why?
We talked about...
Okay, yeah. The Bennington Triangle.
Thank you.
Dude, that was a throwback, yeah.
Like, there's... At this point, there's nothing logical that you can really throw out. Like, what I'm thinking, because we are so deep into this iceberg, it's just gonna sound insane, is for some reason those two people were able to identify some type of like fucking temporary wormhole that just popped up, and they were curious and they went for it. Like that dude that sprinted, he was like, yo, what is this? And he just went after it, and poof, he's fucking gone, man.
Yeah, like, it almost sounds like a siren situation for that guy. Like something lured him incredibly hard to sprint downhill into foresty terrain and just fucking sprint down. Not trip and rip his clothes and leave a shred of clothes behind. Literally nothing found.
Yeah. If they're a TV production crew, are they not recording almost 24/7? Like nobody caught that on video?
Yeah, I don't think it was on video. I don't think so. So they might have been setting up. I don't know.
Yeah, that's crazy. And both in Idaho County.
Yep.
I'm going temporary portal theory, man. Yeah. That's mine. That's like I got nothing else.
Yeah, I know.
That's kind of crazy.
It is like, crazy.
It's weird that the dog came back alive.
The dog came back alive, and as far as I know, it was kind of thin, but that's it.
Oh, yeah, probably didn't find much food.
Yeah, so, yeah, if only dogs could talk, huh? Like, what the fuck happened, dude?
Yeah, that would be amazing. That's crazy. Back to the black-eyed hiker.
Okay. The black-eyed people describes individuals with entirely black sclera or no whites in their eyes. Often reported.
Sorry. I think it's pronounced black-eyed peas. I think that's pretty sick music, man.
They might be part of it, yeah. Often reported in paranormal encounters. In wilderness contexts, some hikers claim to have met such figures before strange events unfolded. Witnesses describe black-eyed figures as emotionless, sometimes speaking in monotone or repeating phrases. And then most accounts claim these figures vanish after brief interactions. It's usually tied to UFOs, but that's also part of Missing 411 is the possibility that UFOs are involved. So that was a quick little entry of just something else spooky. Okay, now we're on the final layer before the final layer. And first is Jacques Vallée. Have you heard this name before?
No, Jacques Vallée. It sounds French.
It is French. Okay, this is a long entry here, but I think it's worth it. I hope. Jacques Vallée is a French-American computer scientist, venture capitalist, ufologist, and author. He's pretty damn famous. Renowned for his work on UFO phenomena, extraterrestrial hypotheses, and information technology. This guy has been on the UFO train publishing crazy-ass books for a long time, okay? He's been famous in the UFO circles for a long time, mainly for his very outlandish ideas of, usually like extra dimensions and stuff. Before that was ever thought of, he's kind of the first guy to come up with this sort of stuff. So yeah, he's a very famous and respected figure in the UFO community and has been for decades. However, in his research into the paranormal, he published an interview in 1988, way before the Missing 411 phenomena was sort of canonized by David Paulides. And this is an interview he took from what happened to a French woman in the 50s. And I think I'm just going to read the full story.
Okay.
So it's an interview in 1988 that Jacques Vallée made with a French woman who said this happened to her in the 50s. So this is what she says. I was hurrying back home to prepare dinner. I was happy and content, and I was singing some popular tune. Everything was calm and still without any breeze or wind. I was alone on the path. Suddenly, I found myself within a brilliant, blinding light, and I saw two huge black hands appear in front of me. Each one had 5 fingers, a black color with a yellowish tinge, somewhat like copper. The fingers were roughly formed, slightly vibrating or quivering. These hands did not come from behind me, but from above me, as if they had been hanging over my head, awaiting the proper time to catch me. The black hands did not immediately apply themselves to my head. I probably took 2 or 3 steps before they touched me. The hands had no visible arms. The 2 black hands were applied to my face with violence and squeezed my head as a bird of prey rushes on its unfortunate... Like a bird of prey rushes... Jesus fucking Christ. Like a bird of prey... I'm just gonna do every single thing that stops me from talking. Fucking hiccup, burp, and cough. Okay.
Just wait for the fart.
Yeah. Squeezed my head as a bird of prey rushes on its unfortunate, helpless victim. They pulled my head back against a very hard chest, one that seemed to be made of iron. I felt the cold through my hair and behind my neck, but no contact with clothes. The hands were squeezing my head like a formidable vice, not abruptly, but gradually. Let's remember, this is translated to English, so if it seems kind of formal, I think that's probably because it's translated from French. They were very cold, and their touch made me think that they were not made of flesh. The big fingers were placed on my eyes, and I could not see anymore, on my nose, so that I could not breathe, and also on my mouth, to prevent me from crying out. I had the feeling I had been paralyzed, and when the hands touched me, I had the very distinct impression of a strong electrical discharge, as if I had been shaken by a lightning bolt. My aggressor pulled me through the bushes until we reached a small pasture, and suddenly he stopped. Why? His hands had gradually slipped down my face, and I tried to call for help, but I had no voice left but a tiny shrill cry. After a while, I was able to sit among the brambles. I had a very hard time breathing. My bag was still in my hand with the money it contained. Finally, I was able to get up in spite of my weakness, and then I heard some noise to my left inside the bushes. I thought I was going to see my aggressor and recognize their faces, but I saw nothing. Only the branches moved, waving in the air. I saw and heard the brambles scratching the empty space and the grass being pressed as if under the steps of some invisible being. I was terrified. Softly, I took to the path again, walking with difficulty. My legs were lacerated by the brambles and bleeding. I felt a strange sensation of nervous exhaustion, indefinable, as if I had been electrocuted by a strong current. In my mouth was a sickening, metallic, bitter taste. My muscles did not obey me. If you get shocked, Chase, do you taste anything? You get shocked real bad?
I mean, I feel like it could be a possibility. I haven't had that happen, but I don't think that that's outside of the realm of possibility.
My muscles did not obey me. Over my shoulders, I felt something like a bar, and in my back a painful heat, as if it had been exposed to flames or to a burning ray. At times I still felt as if I was being brushed by an invisible brush. I must have walked like that for 5 or 6 minutes. At the end of the path there was a turn, and from there I could see houses, and then the pain decreased a little bit. Everything had lasted a quarter of an hour or 20 minutes, and it seemed that I had lived in an unreal world. Abruptly I heard a great noise like a violent wind during a storm, a sudden displacement of warm air, or a violent whirlwind. I saw the trees bending as if under a sudden storm, and I was nearly thrown down. Almost simultaneously there was a strong, blinding white light. I had the feeling something flew through the air very fast, but I saw nothing. Soon everything became calm again. I felt discomfort and nausea. I reached the house of the lock keeper, and when I opened the door, they came toward me and asked me what had happened, because they too had seen a light from their house. The lock keeper's wife asked me what was wrong. When I was able to speak at last, they told me all the fingers were still deeply marked in the flesh of my face, making large red bars. They applied peroxide to the scratches on my legs and an ointment and bathed my face with cold water. My hands were badly hurt. After a long lapse of time, I started again toward the town to buy a few things without saying anything to anyone, and I came back home, laboriously, by another path. So it's just interesting that Jacques Vallée had this interview, and it kind of states a lot of the things seen in missing 411 cases before David Paulides. I still don't think David Paulides has ever mentioned this case, by the way. This is just something someone found in one of Jacques Vallée's old books. Because we've got, the tingly feeling, like the Oz factor, and then we've got the weather changing. And so, yeah, it's just a very creepy, maybe, hypothesis to what happens to people.
That's kind of nutty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like either aliens or fourth dimensional beings. What the hell else would that be? That, because I don't know. You kind of think that if it was, for lack of a better word, just like all in her head, that, well, you wouldn't have fingerprint marks on your forehead from it getting fucking crushed, right?
Yeah, dude.
Like, if you just, I don't know, like had some type of schizophrenic episode or something, threw yourself in the bush, okay, cool, you would have your legs marked up. But then what happened there?
Yeah.
That's really crazy.
Yeah.
Because what would that even be?
Yeah, who fucking knows? Something I don't want to find out. Yeah. I mean, right,
Yeah,
that's the problem. That's why this particular story is so interesting, because it would solve a lot of mysterious cases of people just being grabbed by some sort of underworld creature or something. Yeah.
Right?
But also, it's like, so out there.
It's very out there. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know. I just have so many questions that just can't be answered.
Yeah. I think that's the nature of our channel.
Right. Unfortunate, but that's very interesting to think about, and another reason why I don't go outside.
Okay, our next entry is almost cases. And so this is, I kind of just threw this in here because to me it's kind of the crux or the root of the whole missing 411 phenomenon. And that's that, like, everyone who has spent time in the woods has a story to tell of something creepy happening to them. And I mean, like, everyone has a story. I even have a story of just something creepy. It's like 99% of these stories can be surely logically explained. My story can be logically explained. I just heard a weird scream, and then I walked down a trail, and then when I walked back, there were a bunch of feathers on the trail. It's like, okay, I heard a mountain lion scream, and then a bird was killed. But at the time, it's fucking creepy, and it's still just like weird, creepy things that can happen to you in the forest. And they kind of happen to everybody. Whether it's just like just sudden silence around you, or feeling like you're being watched, or seeing fucking Bigfoot, like some people say. There's just a million stories that revolve around, like, the mystique of the forest. So yeah, just whether it's human psychology or, like, not being equipped to handle, like, dense forests alone for long times, or if it's something paranormal, like, the fact remains, it's fucking creepy. And so yeah, these are the almost cases, though. If you go on Reddit or anywhere where people congregate and you search up what's the creepiest thing that happened to you in a forest, there's going to be 100,000 fucking responses of weird things. And sure, 90% of those people might be lying. But even if 10% of them are telling the truth of something that they experienced that was fucking creepy, that's a lot of creepy shit that happens out there, man. Because there's not a lot of people that disappear, but there's a lot of people who talk about something fucking weird happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how you just have to slip in Bigfoot as a possibility.
Oh, we're getting there. Don't even worry.
Oh my god, this guy. Do you have something else you want to say?
I would say just that was my TED talk. Sorry.
You're good.
The woods are creepy sometimes.
Agreed. I unfortunately, at least maybe not without doing some type of deep reflection, I don't think that I have a spooky wood story, but I do have a interesting thing that happened, I suppose. So I think I've told you this before, but on my dad's side, his father built a cabin. It's a little outside of the San Francisco area in the Redwoods, right? Beautiful. Very first time that I went there, I think maybe I was 6 or 7. And I don't know why I was just the one to get tormented, but the movie that we watched at the cabin, keep in mind, when it's nighttime, it's pitch fucking black because you have trees that are like 30 foot for their base. They extend 300 feet up into the air, complete coverage. You cannot see the moment that you step outside. Anyway, it was the Blair Witch Project. For like a 6 or a 7-year-old, man, that shit seemed fucking real. And the worst part about it was the fact that my grandma loved to collect bones. Wherever she could find them, there's like fucking skulls and rib cages and spines all around the cabin because she just loved it. So watching the Blair Witch Project, seeing like shit get murdered, like bones and shit in that, and then thinking, oh my god, I too am in a forest. Oh my god, there are bones around me. Oh my god, I'm like a fucking 7-year-old who doesn't want to go outside anymore. This might explain a lot now that I'm talking about it.
That's brutal.
Yeah. That was just a fun little factoid, I guess, about me.
Yeah, no, that is definitely brutal for a kid. Even adults thought that shit was real, so. Alright, next entry. Shadow people. So this is just like the black-eyed hikers. Some people have reported seeing shadow people in the forest, and I mean, Jacques Vallée's story is kind of related to this one a bit. Could be what's taking people. Who knows? And that's just shadow people.
I feel like some of that might be just, I can't remember the word, but like people humanizing objects, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, Pareidolia? Pareidolia? I think that's it, yeah.
Something like that. But yeah, I mean, you're out in the woods, you kind of see shadows, and if you're by yourself, might try and piece that together as a person. I don't know.
We're kind of blitzing through these because this bottom tier is full of just a bunch of the weirder theories, since it's closer to the bottom. Next, we got whispering boulders. And that's that some people have reported hearing whispers coming from boulders. That's pretty much it. Don't kill the messenger. I'm just reporting the facts here.
100%. I hope somebody takes either like a fucking glass and puts it up to a boulder and it's like, baby, what's your secret? Tell me what it is. You fucking put the glass up to it. Like, starts fucking whispering back at you. Like, what the fuck? Okay, anyway.
I don't know.
What's next?
Next is EVPs. So EVPs are electronic voice phenomena, or just unexplained voices being recorded. These are like ghost voices that ghost hunters record. You know, if you watch a ghost show, when they record something, they play it back. It's technically an electronic voice phenomena when there is a voice. There have been some documented cases of EVPs being recorded in the forests and wilderness areas. The most famous of these, buckle up, Chase, is the Sierra Sounds recordings. It's a very creepy sounding recording of allegedly Bigfoots talking to each other. So in the clip, you hear multiple voices making animalistic or monkey sounds to each other. Sounds silly. It is silly, but it's more impressive sounding than I'm making it seem. Because it's not like the Finding Bigfoot guys that are like, hoo, hoo, hoo. And then they hear like a branch break in the distance and they freak out. This is like, sounds almost like people talking. It sounds like, people call it like samurai voices, because that's kind of what it sounds like. It sounds like angry Japanese guys yelling at each other in the Northern California wilderness. It's always Northern California. So yeah, that's EVPs.
Okay.
Next entry is Bigfoot links. And need I say more?
I don't think so. So the next one, 600,000 government.
I did kind of throw this in here just to trigger you, Chase, but like with the Dennis Martin case, people did report seeing the boy being carried away by like a dark humanoid type figure. So there you go. All right.
Could be shadow person instead, man.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Next up is 600,000. So 600,000 is the amount of people that go missing in the U.S. annually, total. Obviously, vast majority of them are found pretty quickly, but 600,000 is a number. Pretty big number. Next up, government experiments. I mean, this one's pretty straightforward. It's the theory that the government is either directly experimenting on people who go missing, or their experiments are indirectly the cause of missing people, perhaps opening portals or messing with people's minds, you know, MK Ultra style, something like that.
I'd 100% believe that. Honestly, I thought you were saying 600,000 government experiments.
I know. When I went back to look at it, I was like, no way.
Yeah, I was like, damn, that's a big ass number, man. But
There probably
the US
fucking
has to have
is.
people to test on. Fuck.
And then we got laughing children. There are cases of people hearing laughing children randomly in the woods. Some of the almost cases I talked about earlier, you can look at what people have said they've experienced in the woods where they heard laughing children. And I got nothing to say about this one except how fucking creepy would that be?
That'd be horrifying. Absolutely.
And then you realize it's coming from the boulder.
From the boulder, yeah. That's right.
Okay, so finally we are at the John Doe Mount Shasta case.
The big boy.
This is our last entry. If you liked this, Iceberg, let me know. If you thought I was ass, honestly, go ahead and let me know too. It's my first time making an iceberg. I could definitely do better at it. But yeah, this is the most bizarre case possible. Truly kind of possible. It's the most bizarre case. And it happened pretty much right fucking next door to us, so that's also cool. And I guess we'll just get into it and then talk about it afterwards. So, the John Doe Mount Shasta case began as an ordinary family camping trip in the summer of 2011. So, John Doe is definitely still alive, by the way. What happened to a boy, known only as John Doe in official reports because he was a boy, had been playing near the campsite while his parents prepared lunch. Well, like most of these cases involving kids at least, one moment he was there, the next he had vanished. Not a sound was made. What followed would become one of the most chilling accounts in missing 411 history. For 3 hours, search teams combed the rugged terrain. The breakthrough came when a sheriff's canine unit found the terrified child curled beneath a manzanita bush. So he was found within 3 hours. His clothes were strangely clean despite the forest, but at first rescuers assumed he had simply wandered off and gotten lost, but the truth when it emerged later was way weirder than that. So later on, during a visit with his grandmother, who he called Cappy, 3 weeks after the incident, John suddenly began describing his experience in terrifying detail. His account centered around a being he called, quote, the robot grandma, was apparently a mechanical replica of his beloved grandmother that had approached him in the woods. So remember, this boy is, I think he's 8.
That's old enough to have some bearings, right? Like some understanding of what's going on. Okay. Called the robot grandma, a mechanical replica of his beloved grandmother that had approached him in the woods. The entity's movements he described were, quote, jerky like a machine. Its voice flat and emotionless, yet it perfectly mimicked Cappy's appearance down to the type of dresses she would wear, which was floral print. According to John, the robot led him to a hidden cave entrance partially concealed by a bush. Inside, the space was lined with what appeared to be decades' worth of accumulated objects, which included rusted rifles leaning against the walls, old leather purses hanging from hooks, and canvas bags spilling contents on the dirt floor. A thick layer of dust and cobwebs covered everything, suggesting the cave had been undisturbed for a while. The robot's actions, this is all according to John, grew increasingly bizarre. It forced John to lie on his back while it, quote, examined him, pressing cold metallic fingers against his abdomen in a grid-like pattern as if conducting some methodical scan. Then it produced a small square of paper with a sticky surface and gave John explicit instructions. He was to defecate on the paper, fold it precisely in half, and return it to the robot. The being emphasized that he must not tell anyone. About 3 weeks after the incident, John Doe's grandmother says her grandson... No, that's wrong. So, the being said that he must not tell anyone. When his grandma asked him to explain further, he said,
Quote, "Don't you remember when I was lost in the woods? The other Grandma Cappy grabbed me and took me to a creepy place. She's really a robot. It was a cave with spiders, and there was purses and guns. I was too scared, so I didn't touch anything, but when she climbed a ladder, the light made her look like a robot. There were other robots too, but they didn't move. She made me lay down to look at my tummy, then she tried to get me to poop on a sticky paper, but I couldn't go. She told me I am from outer space, and they put me in my mom's tummy. Then she took me back to the river and said to wait under the bush until someone found me." She also stated that her grandson said, she had your same hair, your feet, and even your face. That scared her, the idea of some kind of doppelganger taking on her image to abduct her grandson. She says she got the impression that her grandson may have been talking about a hologram because of the way he described the light sparking on the strange woman. So, this gets weirder. Imagine. His grandmother was horrified and called her son, the boy's father, who told her that he had also heard the same story from the boy a few days ago. So the grandma admitted that she would have probably written off her grandson's story to a child's overactive imagination. However, she had strange experiments about a year before he disappeared, when she was camping in the same area near Fowler's campground in McLeod, California. She claims she woke up one morning face down in the dirt outside her tent, having been removed from her tent and sleeping bag, and she had a puncture wound on the back of her head. She said she felt violently ill that morning and felt strangely emotionless, so she thought she had been bitten by a venomous spider. She said she was with a friend who'd been sleeping in his separate camper, and he also woke up with a bite on the back of his neck, and he felt ill as well. The only other strange thing she could recall is seeing red eyes shining through the trees and their flashlights the night before, which they thought were deer. So the grandma thinks something replicated her while she was camping at Mount Shasta and made a robot for this boy. That's it. That's the whole story.
We need to fucking go to Mount Shasta. Are you kidding me?
Summer of 2011, dude. This kid, he's an adult now. We could ask him about it now. Yeah.
Can we get a hold? Oh, we don't have any type of information. It's just John Doe. Yeah.
It's just John Doe. His grandma seemed kind of willing to talk to people, so maybe we could talk to her.
That's insane. So
it's the part where the robot asked him to shit on a piece of sticky paper. What the fuck is that?
Okay, so many fun conspiracy theories here. Okay, so the common, I shouldn't say common, a possibility of aliens is that they are some form of AI, right? Because, I mean, if they can't travel at something that is beyond light speed, living organisms probably gonna die when going from like galaxy to galaxy. It's just too fucking long. So what would you do instead? You would probably send a robot that doesn't need anything. It ends up getting here. For some reasons, doing some experiments, maybe to fucking ship it back to the motherland. I don't know. But it parks here. It goes and it finds a disguise, which is going to be a person, right? The grandma goes and gets a little bit of DNA to be able to replicate it. For some reason, when that family came back in the general area, they were like, oh my God, we finally got one, right? We know that there's some type of link for genetic codes around here. We might be able to get him. So then they go for the child, because the child is going to be the one that most people are going to be like, oh, this kid doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. He's only 7 or 8 years old, right? Mm-hmm. Who is going to ask him? What robot is going to ask him to go shit on a piece of paper? People are actually going to believe it. Perfect plan. And then they go and lure the kid over. Wild. So we need to go to Shasta. We need to just go and try and find that little halfway hidden cave that has a bunch of guns in it and some purses, and we will go try and talk with some robots. I think I could arm wrestle a robot. Might break my arm, but I think I could do it.
I could probably shit
So
on a
let's
piece
do
of
it.
paper too.
I mean, do we just bring that as an offering? I can.
Just a
I
piece of
mean,
like notepad paper, just in our
I was
pockets
gonna
full of
ask, does
shit.
it matter like the card stock? Is it okay if it's like A4 paper? Does it need to be like legal? I mean, are we looking at sticky notes? Do I need to get like fly paper? What are we talking here?
Right? Yeah. Yeah, this one's fun because of the strange ass details he's telling about. Like the way it moved was jerky like a machine, and that it had a bunch of random old shit scattered around, like in a cave, like old guns and shit, with hella dusty.
So, what throws me off a little bit though is that what you read or the story that is told isn't going to be a direct representation of the things that he said, right? Because extra words got put in there to make that sound better, right? And more coherent as a story.
Oh.
So I'm curious, word for word, what he said, not altered to make it stand out or be what it is. But also the fact that he replicated that story from, it was a few weeks apart, right? From his grandma and telling his dad, something like that. For a child to be able to replicate a complex lie accurately is fairly improbable, right?
Yeah.
I feel like they would end up getting details wrong and there just wouldn't be consistency in the story. But if that was consistent weeks apart, maybe it did happen. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's a fun one. It is definitely the most weird one. What was your favorite
100%.
story on this iceberg?
Honestly, it might be that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just so fucking wild. I don't know. That's kind of crazy.
This one's really wild.
To you that you really enjoy?
Yeah, Connie Johnson and Terrence Woods. That one baffles me.
That is very, very curious.
That one is very fucking strange.
Honestly,
because I mean, there was a bunch of witnesses watching him run. There's a bunch of witnesses watching him run
into the woods. That is,
and then like her dog came back too. So that was like, there's two parts of those stories that happened like in the same day that are just very strange.
I think one that I really like is the Whispering Rocks. Because to just be able to go like talk dirty to a rock, like, oh baby, whisper in my ear, and the rock just starts whispering to you, like that's just so ridiculous.
Yeah, dude.
Oh my god.
Well, remember also in the Bennington Triangle we went over years ago at this point, there was also the Native American legend that the reason people went missing is because the rocks would open up and swallow them. So maybe that's another connection there to our Bennington Triangle. Maybe we should redo Bennington Triangle.
Sure.
No. Our first video is already gold. Platinum. You can't get better than that.
Platinum. All right.
Well, anyways, that was our full Missing 411 iceberg. Maybe when we're way better at this and I've made a few more icebergs, maybe we'll go back and redo this iceberg a little better. I feel like there was better ways to do this, but I think there's also a reason nobody's made an iceberg like this, because it is not just a single topic. It's a bunch of different topics. It's kind of hard to make an iceberg about it. But I think I did a respectable job doing it. I hope.
You did a good job.
There's, at least like a dozen more cases that were pretty fucking strange that could have been on there. Maybe next one we do, if we do it again, would be just cases on the iceberg. And maybe different ones, obviously, but just cases. But I think we're probably done with Missing 411 for a while, because we've spent probably 3 hours on this in the last 3 weeks. But yeah, let us know what you liked. Let us know what you didn't like, because I would love critiques, honestly. And then next video should be up in a few weeks after this. And I think you're going to like it. Okay. Any final words, Chase?
If you go check out something that is totally crazy and you know you shouldn't be doing it, like looking in Mount Shasta, live stream, 360-degree camera. All I ask.
Beautiful.
Just do it for us. Do it for us.
Do it.
All right. Thanks for watching, you guys.
Yeah, thanks for watching.